Well, how you doing? And welcome to the third installment of Ask the Patent Attorney. My name's Nate Lewinsky, and here with
Vin Latempio. Yeah, sorry about that, Nate.
Stepping over each other. Vin Latempio of Claw, Stanger, and Latempio here in Buffalo, New York, and one of the authors of Patent Fundamentals for Scientists and Engineers. Obviously, the wardrobe lady is out of town because we're in the same clothes, but we're here with fresh, new questions and new concepts to talk about in the field of patent law and obtaining a patent for the inventors out there. Where did we leave off last time, Vin?
Well, last time we were basically talking about the differences between a patentable subject matter and an idea not being patentable, but an actual thing. And I was telling you a little bit about the different types of things that are patentable: the article of manufacture, machine, composition of matter, and a method, business method patent.
Right. We talked a little bit about the prior art search and how that is a main part of the process right in the beginning. You have your idea. Vin, he's a lawyer. He knows a lot about the process, but hey, he doesn't know every patent that's out there.
No, nobody does, and nobody can give you a guarantee that you're going to get a patent on this. So you can just give us we can do the best we can with doing a search, and hopefully out of the 8 million plus patents that are out there, we find a couple that are close to what you have, and I call it stop the bleeding. Right off the bat, if you know that your invention is already out there and it's unlikely that you're going to get a patent, well, you're going to stop the bleeding of the money that it's going to cost to go forward with a patent, because you're going to know that your chances are not good. How would you like it if we spent all this money on a patent
all the time,
and then 3 years later, I say, well, there's this patent out there that's stopping us, Nate, and you'll say, well, why didn't you find it? Well, we'll do our best to try to find it. It's like a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Right.
That's why people, come to us to do the search, but that's the first step, stop the bleeding. We'll do the search. We'll see if it's out there. The other thing the search does, besides just letting you know whether or not your thing is patentable, your idea is patentable, is it gives you a chance to design around what somebody else has, or maybe you have some ideas of what you can do differently to make your thing patentable.
Yeah, so it's not as if, okay, a similar idea is out there. It's not over. It's my turn as the inventor to go back home and to start to realize, hey, if I believe in this idea, I've got to make some changes. I got to alter my invention.
You're back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take a step back before we start moving forward, and I wanted to talk again about the different types of utility patents. We talked about the article of manufacture.
Yeah, that would be like a pencil or something that doesn't move. It doesn't have any moving parts.
Something that you make that already. It is what it is.
Maybe the eraser for the pencil. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. But then, and the other thing was a machine.
Yeah, a machine, which is pretty obvious, an engine or a motor or something that's moving parts.
And something like that, I think the other article of manufacture is pretty obvious. It's what you make. It is what it is once you got it. It's made. But with a machine, many different parts make up a machine. Now, if I'm just using bolts and screws, I'm obviously not going to patent the bolts and screws that put my machine together. But when those parts come together...
Yes, and absolutely. The thing is, you could get a patent on something that's already patented. Maybe part of it is patented already. And again, let's go back to the pencil and the eraser. Maybe you get the patent on the pencil, I get the patent on the eraser, and somebody else is using our pencil and eraser, and they're always losing it, and they work in a sheet metal factory, and they get a little piece of sheet metal, and they put it at the end of your pencil, and they stick on the eraser, and then, wow, lo and behold, they have a pencil with the eraser. But both parts of those, everything that thing is made of is patented. Essentially, you can't even make your own thing because every part of it is patented. But nobody else can make your pencil with the eraser. And I guess the lesson to be learned with that example is that a patent doesn't give you a right to make something. It gives you a right to stop others from making it. It gives you a monopoly. Nobody else can make pencils with erasers. It's a powerful thing. But the problem is, like you said, maybe parts of that machine, parts of that invention, that article of manufacture, can have a patent on it.
Okay, so article of manufacture can have that same...
different pieces to it.
Yeah, right. Okay, sure. That same problem could come up.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, so those are two. The other one was a composite? What was that again?
Composition of matter. And that's just like maybe you come up with a new drug, or the new, maybe you discover that putting peanut butter in your gas tank gives you 1,000,000 miles to the gallon. God bless you, and I hope somebody discovers that. But yeah, it's a new gasoline, a new drug, a new makeup,
Okay.
Composition of matter.
Is that got to be chemical?
It's mostly a chemical patent. Those are chemical patents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Absolutely.
now the other one was a business method. Business method patent. I know this is one of those. It's almost the hot topic, right? I mean, I've been doing a little research. I've been looking around. I noticed that this is a lot of articles are written about this, and big companies are trying to use this a lot of times in conjunction with computer software, even.
Absolutely, and that's where most of these patents, these business method patents, revolve around. And it starts with a logarithm, the computer language, and that's really subject of copyright. And the patent is really the subject of how it works, the usefulness, the function of it.
I read somewhere that the algorithm itself not patentable.
No, that's copyrightable. I mean, it's like putting words in a book and you basically write it all out. And if somebody copies your logarithm exactly the way you have it, then you can sue them for copyright infringement. In fact, and I was reading in IWOZ, he's the Steve Jobs partner, and they're the ones that came up with Apple. On their first trip to the lawyer says, look, patents are probably too expensive for you guys right now, and they didn't have a lot of money for it, and they protected a lot of their computer programs with copyright. And that's now if you go online, you obviously see the patent wars going on right now with the iPhone and Samsung, and,
sure.
And that's a big business method, a method of using the phone. Those are big patents right now, and that's the big war going on right now.
Right. Now let's elaborate a little bit on the business method. Now, to me, that sounds like, hey. Over here, guy's doing a car wash. He's washing with buckets, sponges, and he's drying them with cloths. Someone has the bright idea, says, hey, I can make these big, long washcloths, attach them to a piece of machinery. They swipe back and forth full of soap, and then they run them through like what it looks like a garage, and now it's a new business method?
Well, yeah, but we probably have both here. You have method patents, a way of doing something, and with a process. And usually we'll look at things like that in steps. You start with one thing and you kind of work your way through. And the same thing with most of these computer programs, they're flow diagrams of how they want to solve a problem through a flow of logic steps.
Okay.
And those are more of the virtual. And there's some case law on that with regard that you have to tie the business method into some sort of tangible machine. So you have to both have the machine or something solid. It can't just be this tangible idea. That's the big
or
case.
Intangible idea,
Yeah.
Now,
intangible, but yeah, I mean. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say business method, so we're talking about a specific type of business, correct? Whether it be a car wash or...
Well, it could be any
TV
business.
program.
Yeah, the first business method patent came out with picking stocks based on weather, and it's a method of picking stocks.
Weather?
Yeah, weather. So if they did like stocks on futures, and they call commodities.
Okay.
And commodities are like wheat and everything
Sure.
like that. So if it's bad weather, then the wheat crop is not going to do so well. So sell those stocks ahead of time or buy them beforehand because they're going to be worth more money.
Okay,
or
and that was a patentable
So
idea?
yeah, and that was the first business method patent
wow.
that came out. Yeah, so it was a business method on buying and selling stocks. So I, and the business method book I said that I read on this, and we're getting down to 1 minute
Sure.
here. If you were the first person to come up with the drive-through window at McDonald's, but back then they didn't allow for business method patents. Maybe you could have got the business method on the drive-through
Right.
window, and that's a pretty good example that you came up with the gas station or the car wash, because those machines themselves probably have patentable subject matter.
Sure.
So if we're going to write a patent on that one, we would do our method of washing the car. This is how you do it with providing all the
You have to
all
build
the steps.
the machine.
Well, you still have to build the machine, and we say if you made our machine and copied our machine, we would sue you for that.
Now, real quick, I know we're real close here, and this is sort of like an arbitrary thing, an approximate 10 minutes. But until we get some more questions, I want to kind of close out this business method part. Let's say I come up with a new business method, but every piece of the process is a patentable component or a previously patented component. So it comes, every piece of my new process is something that's already patentable. Every piece of technology, like the
Yes.
wipers, let's say, or the cloths or the sponges or whatever I come up with, is that because I pieced it together in a new, non-obvious way?
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of going back to the piano. Every one of those keys on the piano are patented individually on their own. And then you're playing them either chopsticks,
Right.
or you're playing them like Beethoven.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter. Just like our pencil, every piece of that pencil was patented. But yet we put it together in such a way that nobody thought of before, and we got the pencil with the eraser. So yeah, absolutely. If every single element in there is patented already, and you can put it together in a way that nobody's ever thought of, the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, for a specific business too, right?
Yeah, for that business or whatever, and you could say that it's a non-obvious improvement, and it wasn't obvious to put them all together, and there's a whole checklist of things to determine whether or not it's obviousness. Now nobody's ever done it before, and you started doing it, and it becomes a big financial success, and then people start copying it and saying it was obvious. Well, if it was so obvious, why didn't anybody do it before? I mean, that's
Right.
the biggest one. I mean, it became a financial success. You made it work so much easier. It was less expensive to make it that way. Those are all elements that go into the argument that it wasn't obvious. Because if it was so obvious to get 1,000 miles to the gallon by putting peanut butter in there, everybody would have done it.
Right. And lastly, now, I come up with an idea. It's something that I feel is new. And even though there's not a patent on it already, what if it's already in use somewhere else? Someone's been using it for 10 years.
Well, then you're not the first one if somebody else
So
has
I
been
can't
using
get
that
the
thing.
patent
You
then.
can't get the patent. If
And-
somebody else has done it first, you're not going to be able to get a patent, especially if there's a rule right now, and the rules are all going to change in March, and we'll get into it. But the rule as it stands right now, it's 102B. If you use it in public, you offer it for sale, or you publish it in a magazine, more than 1 year from the date that you file your application, you can't get a patent, or nobody else can do it. And we can talk about that in another one too. You can do a defensive publication and stop anybody else from getting that patent in the future.
Okay, well, you know what? Since we're already past due on time, we're going to talk about some of that in the next episode. Episode 4, we'll talk a little bit about the legalities of the patents, the different types of things in the, I guess, sort of in the environment that make things patentable or not patentable, and also the new laws that'll be changing what inventors have to do to obtain patents and the landscape of that process.
Yeah, the big thing there is the first to file versus first to invent, and we'll talk about that the next.
Okay, well, thanks again for watching Ask the Patent Attorney, Vin Latempio and Nate Lewinsky, and hopefully get some of your questions next time, and I'll see you here again. Thanks,
Thanks, Nate. Thank you.
Yep.